This video and the following videos cover some about the types of psychologists. We have two main questions. The first one is, do we have one type of psychology and one type of psychologist? Or we have many types of psychologists and many types of psychology? And the second question, why are we interested in discovering the different types of psychologists? Regarding the first question, of course, we don't have one type of psychology. We have many types of psychology, and by definition, we have many types of psychologists. Why are we interested in discovering the different types of psychologists and the different types of psychology? Really, if you will be able to understand the different types of psychologists, this will enable us to answer the question of what do psychologists do. In order to know what do psychologists do, you can discover the different type of psychologists and the definition of each one. Basic psychology and all sciences can be classified in that way. Well, for example, if you are talking about medicine, physiology, cytology, histology, in that case, medicine is an applied science, while physiology, cytology, histology, all of these sciences are basic science. And also, if you are talking about pharmacology, pharmacology is an applied science, while the basic sciences behind pharmacology, for example, chemistry, physics, and so on. Now, what do we mean by pure basic psychologist? We can define basic psychologist as follows. They try to discover the basic laws and the principles of psychological and the mental phenomena. They are trying to discover and understand the psychological and the mental phenomena. Of course, you know the four goals of psychology, which are mentioned before. We have, as any science, psychology has four aims. Number one, description, to describe or classify the phenomena, and it is referred to as naming or classifying the psychological phenomena. Number two, understanding, and in understanding or explanation, we are trying to explain the psychological phenomena by discovering their causes, so we can establish cause-effect relationships. And in addition to description and explanation, we have also prediction and control or modification. Prediction refers to the ability to forecast the behavior before it happens. And control, it is also referred to as modification, and it means, it could be established by altering or changing the causes of the behavior. Now we have four aims: description, explanation or understanding, prediction, and control. And of course, the first two aims, description and explanation, are the main two aims of pure or basic psychology. In pure or basic psychology, we are trying to describe the psychological phenomenon, and we are trying to explain it. Now, applied psychology or applied psychologist. And what is the difference or main differences between pure or basic psychology and applied psychology? But before introducing the definition of applied psychologist, we have to say that psychology is a profession as well as a science. What do we mean by a profession? A profession means a paid occupation, especially when that involves prolonged training and a formal qualification or qualifications. I mean, his choosing profession of applying psychology. Now, what is the definition of applied psychologist? After putting the basic laws and principles of psychological phenomena, the applied psychologists try to apply these basic laws and principles. They try to put them into practice. So the definition of applied psychologists as follows. They try to put basic principles of psychological and mental phenomena that are discovered by the basic psychologist into practice. Look, put into practice. Put into practice means apply the psychological laws and the principles of psychological phenomena. The question now is, why are we interested in applying the psychological laws and the principles? Why are we interested in applying these psychological theories? The answer is because applying these principles, because applying these theories, because applying these laws will enable us to help humans in one way or another. For example, applied psychologists may be concerned with the problem of vocational adjustment of individuals trying to find the best one for a job and the best job for one, and dealing with the vocational problems. So in psychology, we have vocational or and industrial psychology, and this is one of the applied psychology. Also, psychologists may serve in connection with institutions of learning, for example, schools, universities, faculties, and also they may serve in connection with military organizations. So we have military psychology, and also we have industrial psychology, and also we have educational or school psychology, and also they may help people in mental health institutions and different clinical settings. So we have clinical psychology as one of the applied sciences of psychology. And in addition to that, many psychologists, many professional psychologists may occupy research positions. For example, in Egypt, you may hear about NCSCR. These five letters, placed side by side, are referred to is the abbreviation for the National Center for Social and Criminological Research. The National Center for Social and Criminological Research. Many psychologists occupy research positions at the NCSCR, the National Center for Social and Criminological Research. Many psychologists Okay, now to sum. As we said before, we can talk about two main types of psychologists. The first one is pure or basic psychologist, as the second one is applied psychologist. And as we said before, we are interested in clarifying the different types of psychologists, and because this will enable us to answer the question of what do psychologists do. And the pure or basic psychology or pure or basic psychologist uh, try to discover the basic laws and the principles of psychological mental phenomena, while applied psychologists put these principles that discovered by the basic psychologist into practice. So in psychology, we have a profession as well as a science. Psychology is a profession as well as a science. Finally, we have to say that actually, although we are interested in discovering the applied and the basic psychology. But actually, no clear-cut distinction between the two groups because many psychologists may combine between the two kinds of activities in what they do and the two kinds of interests. For example, many psychologists may teach in colleges and universities, and through their research, they may add much to our knowledge of human behavior and human nature. And in addition to that, they may apply psychology in different settings such as clinics, school, military organization, factories, and so on. After clarifying the difference between psychology and applied psychology, now we have to clarify some about the subtypes of each one. Pure basic psychology has many subtypes, and we will cover only six subtypes. And also applied psychology involves many subtypes, and we will cover some about these subtypes in the following slides.